So this is the questionnaire. So the questionnaire is examining the effect of motivation on employee performance. And here we have just two questions under demographic data, which are age and gender. Then we now pre-coded our scale. So we said strongly disagree is 1, disagree is 2, agree is 3, strongly agree is 4. So if a respondent should tick, for example, strongly agree, so we expected to insert 4. So then we have the questions for increments in salaries, the questions for bonus, and the question for employee performance. So like I said, we're looking at the effect of motivation on employee performance. So increments in salary and bonus are elements of motivation. So it's like saying we're looking at the effect of increment in salary and bonus on employee performance. So let us quickly look at our SPSS. So the SPSS has 2 windows. One is data view, the second is variable view. So the data view is where we input data view is where you put the data. The variable view is where you define your variables. So in this case, we're starting with variable view. So the first variable from our questionnaire is gender. So we have gender. So it is numeric. These are default. So the width 8, the decimal 2, that is when you have 1.00. So there is no point editing those ones, just leave it. Then the next thing we have to do is the label. So label, we write gender. So under label, you are expected to state what that particular variable indicates. So in this case now, we can say respondent gender. So under the variable name, you can't use space. I can't. For example, assume I want to type respondent gender under name, there won't be space. You have to combine the words together, or you use a hyphen or underscore. So, but under label, you can use space, like what I have here, respondent gender. So the next thing is value. So in this case now, we can say let 1 represent male, because everything we do in SPSS, we have to quantify it. 1 is male, you can see it's 1 male, then add. Then 2 represents female. So can add, then okay. So that scale is there already. So this one is missing number none. The column 8, then the alignment aligned to right. So these are default, you leave it. Then the measure, we have various kind of data. So in this case, there's what we call nominal, there's what we call ordinal, there's what we call interval, there's what we call ratio. So it's outside the scope of this particular training. But when you have a variable that you are not ranking, you're only attaching number to show characteristics. It is known as nominal. So that number is just serving a nominal role. So you just change the measure to nominal. Then we'll continue again. We'll go to the second one. We have age. So the same thing is numeric. Then we can see respondent age, but to be fast, let me just type age. Then the value. So let us see what we have. We have 18 to 30. 18 to 30. Let me see the questionnaire again. Under age. Okay, age we have 18 to 30, 31 to 45, then 46 and above. So That is what I will quickly effect. So here we have under the value, so I can say let 1 represent 18 to 30, add. Let 2 should represent 31 to 45. Then I add. Then I say 3 should represent 46 and above. And above. So add. Okay. So this scale is also nominal. So let me quickly explain this nominal. When you say, you can also read it up. When you say data is nominal, or you are saying is not showing any form of magnitude. For example, when we say let 1 represent male, let 2 represent female, we are not saying 3 is higher than 1. We are only using 1 to indicate characteristics that, okay, 1 represent male. So that does not imply that female is higher than male. So in this case, when we talk about ordinal, we're showing ranking, like when we do our normal Likert scale, like the questionnaire we have, and we say let 1 be strongly disagree, let 2 be disagree, let 3 be agree, let 4 be strongly agree. So in that case, we're ranking. So we also change this measure to the measure to nominal. So with this, we're done with the demographic data. So we'll now come to the question proper. Let me quickly cite the questionnaire again. Which variable do we have first? The first variable is increment in salary. And we have just 2 questions under it. You know, this is just for the purpose of training. Usually, you are expected to have about 5 questions. So we can say increment in salary. Increment in salary. So we can use IS to represent increment in salary. Then here we can type it in full under label. Under label, you type it in full, increment. Recall that I said you can use your normal space under label, increment in salary. But under name, you can't use space. Under this name, where you type your variable, you can't use space. You can only use underscore. So increment in salary. Then the scale now, under the measure, is going to be ordinal because we ranked. So the next thing, then the values. In our case, 1 represent strongly disagree. 2 represent disagree. Then I add. 3 represents agree. I add. 4 represent strongly agree. So I add, then I'm done. Okay. Then I quickly, and you know, we have 2 questions. We have 2 questions under increment in salary. So because we have 2, so I have to make it ISQ1. That is increment in salary question 1. So I have to also indicate it here. Increment in salary question 1. Or let me just use Q1. So the same thing, I have increment in salary question 2. That is the second question, question 2. So I will edit all this part. So here now, under the value, I don't need to retype this again. I can just Ctrl+C, copy what I have here, since they are the same scale. Then Ctrl+V, it will paste. You can see it has pasted it. Then here, I change it to ordinal. Then I'm done with increment in salary. So the next one is bonus. Let me call it BN. BN question 1. BN question 1. Then here, let me type the increment in salary question 1. increment question 1. So let's just be fast. Question 1. So now really we expected to type it in full under label. So yeah, now this is bonus question 1. So the same thing I can copy. So let me just change this one to ordinal. So yeah, I can do the same thing. Control C, then Control V to paste. So I'm done with this. Then I can now my bonus 2, the second question for bonus question 2. So we have bonus Q2. So yeah, let me write it in full. Bonus Q2. So I can do the same thing here. Control C. Then here, Control V. So I didn't copy it well. So click Control C, then Control V. So you can see it has pasted. Then I change the measure to ordinal. Then the next one is employee performance. Employee performance. So let's call it EP. EP question 1. So here I under label, I label it is employees. So I write it in full. Employees performance question 1. So the same thing here. Employees performance EPQ2. So the same thing. So I label it employee performance question 2. So the same thing here, I can do what I stated here earlier on. Control C, then I paste it here. Control V, the same thing. So then here, since we're talking about Likert scale, they are all ordinal because we are ranking. Strongly agree, disagree. So ordinal. So with this, I'm done with my variable view. So the next thing is to enter the data. So the next question you will now be asking me is that since I have 2 questions, recall that I said this is just for the purpose of training, and I'm assuming that you, my esteemed viewers, you guys might not have really been exposed to SPSS before. This might be your first time. So, and that is why we're using just 2 questions. If you see most standard questionnaire, you will be seeing like 5, 6, 7 questions under a variable. So, but for the purpose of training, we're just using 2 questions for each of the variables. So now, what we'll now do, the question you'll now be asking me is that, are we not going to join these questions together to have that particular variable? For example, when you join increment in salary question 1 and increment in salary question 2 together, it will give you the data for increment in salary, because those 2 questions constitute increment in salary. So assuming you have 5, is the same thing also. You have to join the 5 together. So we'll get there now. So let us go to data view. So now I want to input the data. You can see that we now have all these variables: gender, age, ISQ1, that is increment in salary question 1, increment in salary question 2, bonus question 1, bonus question 2, then employee performance question 1, employee performance question 2. So now we are now going to, for the purpose of training, so number 1, you can see number 1, that is the first respondent. So let's assume the first person that I gave it to when I retrieved the copy of the questionnaire. Under age, the person falls within the age range of 18 to 30. You will agree with me that that is number 1 from what we have defined already. That is under gender, let's say the person is male, that is 1. Under age, the person falls under the age range 18 to 30, that is 1. Then let's say under the question for increment in salary, the person ticked strongly agree, that is 4. Under the question for increment in salary, second question, the person tick agreed, that is 3. The question for bonus, the person tick disagree, which is 2. You will recall that we said 1 represents strongly disagree, 2 represent disagree, 3 represent agree, 4 represent strongly agree. So under the question for bonus, the second question for bonus, the person tick agree, that is 3. Then employee performance, the person tick strongly agree for the question 1. Then second question also, the person tick strongly agree. So with this, we have coded the questionnaire from the first respondent. We now pick the second one. So let's say the second person, we're just going to do like 4 for the purpose of this coding. So let's say the second person falls within the age range 46 and above. You know, that is 3. Okay, this is gender. Let's say the second person is a female. 2, falls within the age range of 46 and above. That is 3. Then under the question for increment in salary 1, the person strongly disagree. That is 1. The second question for increment in salary, the person disagree, which is 2. The first question for bonus, the person agree, which is 3. The second question for bonus, the person agree, which is also 3. Then employee performance, the person strongly agree, which is 4. Then the second question for employee performance, the person also strongly agree. So with this, we are done with the second respondent. You drop that second one, then you pick the third one. You know, you can have as much as 200 copies of questionnaire. 200 copies, you can have 500 copies, you can have 1,000 copies, you can have 2,000 copies. So, but for the purpose of this training, we'll limit ourselves to 3, because if you can, to 4, sorry, if you can do 2, you can do 1,000. It's the same thing. So now, let's say the third respondent for gender, the person is a male, which is 1. For age, the person falls within the age range of 31 to 45. Then for increment in salary question 1, the person strongly agree. Then question 2, strongly agree. Bonus, the person strongly agree. Then bonus question 2, the person strongly agree. Then for employee performance question 1, the person strongly agree. Then employee performance question 2, the person agree. Then we'll drop that one. We're done with the third questionnaire. Then we move to the fourth one. The fourth one, under gender, the person is a female, which is 2. Age, the person falls within the age range 18 to 30, which is 1. So under the question increment in salary, the person agree. The first one. The second question under increment in salary, the person also agree. The first question under bonus, the person strongly agree. Second question under bonus, the person strongly agree. Then first question under employee performance, the person agree. Second question under employee performance, the person strongly agree. So assuming our study, assuming the research we carried out, we only gave our questionnaire to 4 people, we are done with the coding. So the next thing is to transform. Why are we transforming? We have 2 questions that captures increment in salary. We have to combine both together to generate a data known as increment in salary. We also have 2 questions that capture bonus. We also have to join the 2 data together to have a variable that is known as bonus. Then ditto for employee performance. So now what we would now do is, we have 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is of the view that all you have to do is to add the responses together. For example, increment in salary, we have 2 questions. So you add the responses together. And for example, if we're using increment in salary, 4 plus 3 will give us 7. So we just create another variable, call it IS, increment in salary. Then first one will put 7. Because we're talking about 2 questions now. Assume we have 5, 10 questions, it won't be that easy. Now for the next one, if you check this now, for increment in salary, the second one, we have, first one is 4 for the second respondent. Second one is 2, that is 6, you put 6 there. So another school of thought is also of the view that when you add, you divide it. So you take the average. So for example, since we have just 2 questions, you add, then you divide it by 2. So we're going to go with the first school of thought, we just add. So we don't need to do it manually, because you can have 5 questions, 10 questions. You don't need to do it manually. And you can have 500 respondents. So it is going to be time consuming when you start adding manually. So SPSS can do it for you easily. So you just click transform, transform, transformed. Then after transform, you click compute variable. So it will now give you a drop box like this. So the first thing you see is target variable. So which variable are you targeting? So we are targeting increment in salary. So I put IS. So what are the questions that constitute increment in salary? So the first one is gender, second one is age. So these are the questions. So I click the first question for increment in salary. I use this arrow to forward it to the numeric expression. You can see is there. Then I put plus. I come here. This is the second question, increment in salary question 2. Then I use the arrow to send it to numeric expression. Then I am done. Then I just OK. I come down, I click OK. So it will give me the output window. So any analysis you carry out, it gives you this window. So I come back to my SPSS icon. You can see mine here. This is it. So this is the output window. This is my data that I'm working with. I click it. So you can see it has generated IS for me. It has added it for me automatically. First one 7, second one 3, third one 8, fourth one 6. It has done the addition for me automatically. So I do the same thing for the second variable. So I go back, I click transform. See transform, compute variable. So the variable I'm looking at now is bonus. So let me say BN, bonus. So I delete what I have here previously. So the next thing I will do, I will go to the questions. So this is the first question for bonus. I use the arrow to send it to numeric expression. Then I plus. My plus is here. Then this is the second question. I click it. I use the arrow, send it to numeric expression. Then I go down. I click OK. This is OK. So the same thing, it has computed it for me automatically. So I come down to my icon where I have my SPSS. You know, SPSS is usually denoted with Sigma sign. So once I put my icon there, I go back to my data. You can see it has generated BN also for me. So I'm only left with one. I'm left with one. So we can also do this manually since we just 4. Look at the BN now. Let's look at BN question 1. BN 1. You can see BN, the first respondent 2 for question 1. Second question 3. So that is 2 plus 3, 5. You can see what we have here, 5. Look at the second respondent under BN. Under BN, second respondent. This is BN. This is where I'm referring. For the second respondent, look at BN question 1, 3. Then the second question 3. So you can see what it gave us here, 6. So when you have a large data, you can't do it manually. So that is why you must know this method. So we only have one, which is employee performance. So you click transform, then the same thing, compute variable. What variable am I looking at now? I'm looking at employee performance, which is EP. Then I delete what I have here previously. Then I look at what are the questions for EP. These are the questions. Employee performance 1. I use the arrow to send it to numeric expression plus. Click the plus sign. Then the second question for employee performance, send it there. That is all okay. So assuming I have 5 questions, the same thing is just plus, plus, plus. So it has computed it for me. Then I come down to where I have my Sigma sign that depicts SPSS. Click my data. So you can see the 3 are here already. So with this, I have done with my coding. So now, since I'm done with my coding, the next thing is to carry out my data analysis. So now, if you look at our, okay, we're going to have another video for the data analysis.